So as some of you might know, my sister also has a YouTube channel. It's called Crafti Potential, and she does arts and craft, mainly making greetings cards. And she needed some new titles. She wanted a refresh on her channel, and I said I would do some animation for her. So the background for this was blue sky with clouds, which was handmade. I photographed that, and then we were going to have a bouncing bumblebee. She loves bumblebees. They're part of her branding. And so I decided to sculpt bumblebees in all different dimensions to get a bit of squash and stretch on a bounce. And then at the top position of every bounce, the bumblebee was going to change into 5 baby bumblebees, and these were going to have different formations. So every time it bounced, it would have a different arrangement of baby bumblebees. These are all hand sculpted. When you're doing a bounce like this, literally the only limit to what you can do is how able you are to sculpt something. This was using Nuplast clay. It's the clay I always use, and you can see I just sculpted the bees slightly more stretched, so I made them thinner and longer, and then I also made them shorter and fatter. And by switching those out, you get that lovely elasticity to the bounce, a bit of squash and stretch. And I put these markers on in Dragon Frame to make sure that the bee stayed in a straight path going up and down, and I also put some guides so that I knew where the top position was, where I wanted my baby bees to sit, so that every single bounce it would reach the same height and the bees would stay in relatively the same position. Now, I decided to animate this on a plain background because the idea was that I was going to cut out these bees frame by frame, and it meant that we could then place them on whatever background that we wanted. In this case, we were using the clouds that you saw at the beginning. So the background here is literally just a piece of plain blue paper, and that makes it quite easy to cut things out in Photoshop from a plain colour. Because I lit my scene by bouncing the light off the ceiling, you're not getting harsh shadows, so it'll be quite easy in the edit to cut these bees out. Now, knowing where to place your bees in a bounce is a bit of trial and error. I've got quite a lot of experience of bouncing things, doing ball bounces, so I kind of have a feel for where to place them. But if you're still learning, I suggest make some balls in different shapes, some that are a little bit fatter, some that are a little bit thinner, and just play around with where you place them and decide what looks good to you. You could have a really stretched bee like I'm using it as an intermediate into the bee going up and down to accentuate the acceleration of that bee moving. Or you could decide not to do that. It would look completely different, and you can make a bounce cycle that is unique to you. I would say that it's just fun to play around really with a bounce, and like I say, experiment. Make something that's not just a ball. Sculpt it into a bee or a globe or something different. When you feel like you have mastered where you want to position things, it's really fun to experiment with different shapes. And doing these bees was really fun. So yeah, play around with whatever you feel inspired to make. Now, I'm going to show you how I edited out the background in Photoshop. And to do that, I just brought my still images in. I right-clicked, did a layer from background, and then I put a new layer behind, which I dropped a bright pink colour onto so that you can clearly see if you have cut out everything cleanly. And I was just using the Magic Wand selection tool. I had about 50% tolerance. You could raise this up to 100%, but I was going to go around the edge of each bumblebee with the eraser tool, just because I feel like you get a slightly cleaner edge doing it this way. It takes obviously a lot of time, but I tend to watch a program in the background, so I'm doing 2 things at once, and I do find it quite therapeutic going around objects in this way. And I like the soft edge you can get with the eraser tool. Things just look really nice and neat and clean. And then simply I pulled these into Premiere. I saved them as PNGs without the background, so you've got the transparent background, pulled them into Premiere, and then literally just increased the brightness and contrast, added a drop shadow, and then overlaid them onto my background, and that is how I got the finished result. If you'd like to see what my sister makes on YouTube, the link to her channel will be in the description box for you to check out. And if you like what I do on this channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified every time I upload a new video, and give this video a big thumbs up. I'll catch you in the next one.